From the KELOLAND Digital Desk, I'm meteorologist Scott Mundt. It is Monday, January 12th. Here's what's coming up on today's show. We are talking warm temperatures for today and tomorrow. I know I'll get into that with the immediate forecast, and then I'll talk more about what I did last week with us entering the top 5 for warmest days in Sioux Falls, Aberdeen, Pierre, and Rapid City. We'll see if that holds true for today and tomorrow. Windy days are ahead. That is something that we'll have to watch as we do go through this week, and especially by Friday, because Friday will bring in a chance for snow. The winds will come in from the north. Could end up being one of those days where we have falling temperatures as we do go through the day on Friday. So we'll have to watch for snow, strong winds Friday. If you have any travel plans late this week on Friday, just pay attention to the changing weather that will move through the upper plains. And we'll probably finish with our pattern like we typically do on this program. Futurecast for today, dry skies, mostly sunny to partly cloudy. Temperatures will be mild, numbers in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. We'll talk more about that in just a bit. Tonight, clouds do thicken, and you will see that tomorrow morning. Western, central, parts of eastern, southeastern KELOLAND probably waking up to thicker clouds as compared to what we have for this morning, or had for this morning in eastern and southeastern KELOLAND. Now, watch what happens. We start to see some rain showers develop. And I thought this was rather interesting, too, that, during the show, we had some new information come into the model suggesting that, see these areas here with that red? I wonder if we're trying to get maybe some thunder showers out of that. That's something worth watching during the afternoon. Maybe we'll get some lightning strikes that will pop here and there in the central, west central South Dakota, where we'll have temperatures probably in the middle 50s, at least in the middle 50s. And then we'll see what happens here in the eastern, southeastern KELOLAND, as some of these showers may extend from near Huron, south to Mitchell. Sioux Falls, I would say, on the very edge of getting these rain showers for tomorrow afternoon. Probably a better chance in Yankton and Vermilion. Now, these will quickly move to the south and southeast as we get into the evening hours. And then as this cold air starts to come in, not bitter cold, but it will be colder for midweek. But as that cold air comes in, it's trying to spark a flurry, snow shower, north central to southeastern KELOLAND. This is at midnight. That's Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Trying to see at least a little bit of a switch over there to maybe some light snow showers or flurries. And then during the day on Wednesday, temperatures will be colder. And we'll see if we get any showers, snow showers, that is, or flurries to linger as we do get into the afternoon hours. Now, let's go ahead and show you our winds for today, because they will pick up. And I know this is a rather busy map, but you do notice western South Dakota. This is during the morning hours. We could already see some of these wind gusts for the hills into that 40-mile-per-hour range. Some areas even a little stronger than that. Then by midday, northwestern South Dakota can get in on these stronger winds as well. Some of those wind gusts of 35 to the lower 40-mile-per-hour range. You see that showing up in Buffalo, still into the northern hills, the Lee, Deadwood area, Spearfish, maybe a wind gust there near 40. And we're starting to see some higher wind gusts around Rapid City as well, approaching 30 miles per hour or more. During the afternoon, wind gusts in central, eastern KELOLAND may approach 30. And then as we get into this evening, I think that trend continues. Those wind gusts may be around 20, some areas getting close to 30. You see that showing up in north central South Dakota. And this is something that can also continue for tonight. I think we will see more of a westerly wind tonight. And then for tomorrow, everybody should have a northwest wind with those winds at least 15 to 30 miles per hour. In fact, you do see that here on Futurecast. Stronger winds in the western KELOLAND later in the day tomorrow. See that wind gust up to 40. But we will have a breezier, windy day tomorrow, helping to mix up the atmosphere. We're still in warm Pacific air. So we'll have temperatures that will be above average. We'll have numbers in the 40s, 50s, a little cooler than what's expected today. Clouds will be thicker. Keep in mind, we do have that rain chance. A couple of scattered showers may fall in central South Dakota. We'll get a break from the wind on Wednesday. Thursday, we may get a brief southerly wind to help us warm. That won't last. Look how quickly these winds do change direction to the northwest, central and northern KELOLAND. Now, this is something that we'll have to watch late this week, Thursday evening, Thursday night, right into Friday, because this is when colder air is expected to return. Along with it, we'll have that chance for snow, for accumulating snow. And did you notice western South Dakota, as we get into Thursday morning, some of those wind gusts over 50 miles per hour? That is something else that we'll have to follow, too. And I do have another segment coming in talking about these windy days ahead, and that's something that we'll take a closer look into during one of those segments coming up a little bit later on the show. For today, temperatures will reach the 40s, 50s, and 60s. You see the 60s across western and south central South Dakota today. Tonight will be mild, numbers in the 30s and 40s, 40s in the western, south central, southeastern KELOLAND. And for tomorrow, the clouds will be a little thicker, watching for a chance at a couple of scattered rain showers, western, central South Dakota. And some of those may make their way toward the Yankton-Vermilion area, as well as Mitchell. Mitchell could see an isolated rain shower later in the afternoon. Coming up in the next segment here, we'll talk more about our warm temperatures for today and tomorrow. Stay with us. You're watching Weather or Not. Welcome back to Weather or Not. Warm today and tomorrow, though. Tomorrow will be slightly cooler than what's in our forecast for today. And just to show this map again, because I do have that list of our 4 forecast cities and our top 5 for warmest temperatures on the date for today and tomorrow. So you do see our numbers in the 40s and 50s across eastern KELOLAND. Keep in mind, too, this is when we have our climate average high in the middle, maybe the upper 20s across eastern South Dakota and western Minnesota. So we will be above and beyond that for today and for tomorrow. But when we do look at the top 5 warmest for Sioux Falls, Aberdeen, Pierre, and Rapid City, we just need to get into the upper 40s in Sioux Falls to crack the top 5, okay? And again, let's go ahead and go back to our forecast graphic. As you do see, numbers are in the low to middle 50s from Huron east to Marshall and areas to the south. Worthington, Spencer, coming in a little cooler with temperatures in the upper 40s for those locations. So, yeah, we may have a couple of areas still stuck in the 40s for some across eastern, southeastern KELOLAND. So that is something that we'll continue to monitor as we do go through the day today. Otherwise, middle 60s into western South Dakota. The record in Rapid City at 68. We are forecasting 64, so that could be the second warmest on the date in Rapid City. Otherwise, the record high in Pierre is 64, and we need to get at least to the middle 50s to crack the top 5 for warmest on January 12th in Pierre. What about tomorrow? Now, tomorrow I did mention that the clouds will be thicker. There is that chance at a couple of scattered showers in western, central, and south central South Dakota. Temperatures in the 40s to near 50 degrees, still above average in eastern KELOLAND, high of 50 in Sioux Falls, 45 in Aberdeen. Now, we'll have the thicker clouds, stronger northwest wind, so slightly cooler, but still well above average, 40s and 50s. What do we have to do to get into the top 5? Well, we have to hit 50 in Sioux Falls, and that is our going forecast. Aberdeen, need to get a little bit warmer than the middle 40s. You see here, we need to hit 50, the tie for the 5th warmest. And western South Dakota, we need to get into the upper 50s to crack the top 5 warmest for January 13th. That's tomorrow. So we'll see what we do, how we do, as we get into today, this afternoon, and, of course, for tomorrow. Then it's after that we talked about the colder air that is returning for midweek. And we'll have to watch the wind, too. Windy days are ahead. And along with that wind, there's that chance to see snow on Friday. And we could have accumulating snow in the eastern South Dakota, Minnesota, and Iowa on Friday, combined with that wind. Probably run through a couple of travel problems if we do get that snow to fall in eastern KELOLAND on Friday. So keep that in mind with any travel plans you may have later in the week. We'll talk more about that coming up. Stay with us. You're watching Weather or Not. Welcome back to Weather or Not. Windy days are ahead. Maybe not necessarily for today, at least in eastern KELOLAND, but I know western South Dakota, we will eventually see an increase in winds as we get into the afternoon and evening, probably coming in from the west. Wind gusts over 30 miles per hour during the afternoon and evening, western and northwestern South Dakota. We will eventually see stronger winds move into central and eastern KELOLAND, I think, as we do go into the overnight, and that will last into tomorrow. Northwest winds 15, 30 miles per hour at least. We're starting to see some indications that these winds will get even a little bit stronger, and that's where I do want to start as we'll bring this up. Now, this is something that I know that we brought up earlier when Rapid City experienced their wind gusts of 100 miles per hour a couple of weeks ago. We were looking at this momentum transfer with some of these forecast models. And these are coming in for tomorrow. This is a look at Sioux Falls. You can see this area right in here where my cursor is moving. It continues to go up. Now, here's the threshold of 50 mile per hour wind gusts right here. And that's during the evening hours for tomorrow. And it still goes up. It goes a little higher than that. That's over 55 miles per hour. Now, that's for tomorrow. We'll see if that happens as we get into the evening hours for tomorrow. We could see some of these peak wind gusts eventually come in, maybe even close to 50 miles per hour or more. And then we do get a break, okay? As we get into, say, Wednesday, we'll have a decrease in wind as we go through the day. Thursday, relatively light wind speeds. But look what happens Friday. And keep in mind, Friday is the day that I mentioned we have a chance for the snow. Eastern South Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa. Look what happens to the wind. As we go through the day on Friday, that wind starts to come up, coming in from a northwesterly direction. In fact, the peak right here, that yellow, that's over 55 miles per hour. And as we take that down the timeline, that'll take us maybe around the midday hour on Friday to see some of our peak wind gusts during that time. So that's a look at Sioux Falls with what's expected to happen with these winds as we do go forward here. Let's go ahead and check Rapid City. I just need to change the identifier, have it redo the maps here, and then we'll go down to our momentum transfer. Now, this, you could already see, if you look closely at the graph, how this is going up to 90 miles per hour. Okay, now we don't see any wind gusts getting that high. Though as we do get into Friday, look how these winds do peak again, over 60 to 80. Friday morning, maybe late morning into the early afternoon. Before then, this is today. Later today, I mentioned those strong winds in western South Dakota. Wind gusts over 40, showing up right now across western KELOLAND, probably during the evening hour. So they will have some strong winds across the west for today. Try to get a break for that in the morning hours for tomorrow. We'll see if it gets ramped up again as we get into the afternoon. We mentioned that we will have some stronger winds across western South Dakota tomorrow afternoon as well. Get that break going into Wednesday, Thursday morning. See how it starts to increase again. Those peak wind gusts getting close to 60 with that momentum transfer there on Thursday. But it's Friday that we'll have to watch. In fact, that time frame, Thursday afternoon into Friday afternoon. those peak wind gusts are anywhere from, say, 60 on Thursday, getting close to 80 on Friday. So that is western South Dakota. That's a look at their winds as we do get into later this week, Thursday, Friday. I'll say that again. Some of those peak winds near 60 on Thursday, getting close to 80 on Friday. We'll see if that does hold true, but we'll also watch for snow. And this is a graphic that I showed during KELOLAND this morning as well. It also has another computer model's peak wind gusts on here. And you can see that's also agreeing with wind gusts near 60 in Rapid City for Friday morning. So we'll continue to follow that. Peak wind gusts 30, 40 miles per hour covering central into eastern KELOLAND. Keep in mind, too, this is at the same time that we do have snow that will be falling into those locations. That continues into the afternoon. At midday, still showing strong winds in western KELOLAND, as well as parts of central, eastern South Dakota. According to this model, some of those peak wind gusts of 30, getting close to 40 miles per hour or more. And it's at the same time that we have snow that's falling across the area. So we'll watch for those changing weather conditions as we do get into the later part of this work week. Coming up next, we'll talk more about our weather pattern. Stay with us. You're watching Weather or Not. Welcome back to Weather or Not. About to start our last segment here. As usual, it's the pattern. What can we expect going forward here? We'll also talk about, we'll see how far we can get looking at different modeling data. I'm looking over here on different monitors. You can't see it. That's the one that I'll bring up. Here's a tease of it. It's that. That shows our snow amounts there according to one of the models. So, yeah, that is something that we'll get to, try to run through a couple other models with that information as well. But our pattern ahead, you know, we've talked about these warm days for today, tomorrow. So there it is, well above average temperatures. You know, something I haven't done, I should probably put a legend up here just to help tell what those colors mean. That's something I should do. A little bit of homework as I talk to myself about what I should put on these graphics. Later this week, that snow, it shows up on Friday with falling temperatures, I would say, as this system moves through falling temperatures and increasing winds. We do not want to forget that. So that is something we'll probably hit a little harder on KELOLAND this morning for tomorrow. We could have another round of very strong winds later this week. Could end up being Friday with some of our strongest winds that we just showed you with that momentum transfer in Rapid City. Now, aside from that, the wind for Friday helped bring in the cold air. Teens for highs as we get into Saturday. We may see temperatures in the teens to lower 20s in eastern South Dakota and throughout much of Minnesota. So that is something that will happen as we get into the later part of this week. So if you do have any travel plans for Friday, especially to the east, keep this changing weather in mind with the colder air coming in, the chance for snow. So here's a look at what the European model is thinking for snowfall amounts. Now, it's North Dakota, South Dakota, parts of western Minnesota. You do see how a lot of this is setting up across eastern KELOLAND. Right now, it's suggesting 1, maybe 3 inches of snowfall. So that's the European deterministic. Let's see what the American model is saying. Saying far less. You know, so that's the American model, thinking that the amounts will be far less, but it does show up there into northern Minnesota. Now, let's take this model out, because I think this is the 6Z. That's the latest data. Let's take it out a little bit farther as we get into, well, there's the 23rd of January. Now, I think this right here, this fills in with that leading edge of that cold air. So when did that? Yep, that's when it filled in, right there on the 23rd, and showed this morning that that could be the beginnings of very cold air that tries to come in during the last week of the month. We'll see how much moisture is available for us, but right now it's not suggesting much off of the American model, hardly anything at all. So I showed you the European, the American. Here's the Canadian. Okay, now the Canadian's more in line with what the European was showing, with it bringing in, is it an average of 1 to 3? No, not necessarily. It looks to be a little more in eastern South Dakota. But let's go ahead and change the time frame there at the top. So here we go. There's Friday. Still looking maybe a little heavier than what the European was showing at that time frame. So maybe a little bit more than 1 to 3. See, we get a 4 showing up to the southeast there of Aberdeen and west of Watertown. Looks like there are a couple areas up here in the northeastern South Dakota, 4 to 6 inches of snowfall. Again, this is the Canadian. So the Canadians are maybe a little more aggressive than what the European was showing. As we continue through time here, and how far does this one go out? It goes out to the 22nd. And you can see after Friday's hit of snow, it doesn't add too much to things. But it's nice that it's also showing up some snow in the hills of western South Dakota. They can definitely use that across western KELOLAND. So we'll see if that holds true. Now, let me see if I can bring in the AI version of this. I'll just have to change the map there. So the AI, as we go through, so this is through Saturday. 1, maybe 2 across eastern South Dakota and Minnesota. So it brings in a couple inches worth of snowfall across parts of eastern KELOLAND as we do get into Friday snow. So that, too, is trying to bring in at least some measurable snow. Maybe not as high as the deterministic on the European, and it's not as high as the Canadian. The Canadian has been the highest. And you know what? If Brian was here, we'd have this discussion that I think the Canadian has been the one that's coming in with the highest amounts of snow from this winter so far. So that's something worth watching as well. So we do have some changes on the way as we get into the later part of this week. We'll have to watch to see if we do get any of that snow to move across the area, across eastern KELOLAND, that is. But in the meantime, just be prepared for changing weather conditions as we do get into Friday later this week. And keep in mind, too, the strong wind. Do not want to forget about the strong wind. That's our time here on the latest edition of Weather or Not. Thank you for joining us, and have yourself a great day.